Okay, welcome back to another video. This time I'm going to do a quick retrospective and review of the game I just finished playing, Monster World 4. And as you can see right here, I do have pulled up a way that you can actually get a hold of this game nowadays. Apparently, if you have an Xbox One and Xbox Series X, you can actually get this Sega Vintage Collection from Microsoft's website. It says it's for both those systems. That not only comes with Monster World 4, but also comes with Wonder Boy and Monsterland and the previous Genesis game I played, Wonder Boy and Monster World. So at $10, all three games, that's actually a pretty dang good deal, I'd have to say. Me personally, I bought the game on the Wii Shop Channel for the Virtual Console for the original Wii before they shut it down. I want to say they probably shut it down about something like 3 years ago, 3 years ago or so. So I was able to actually get a hold of it officially before they shut that down. I don't have an Xbox, so buying it this way would be basically just a waste of money. But that's okay. I already paid for it, so I'm okay with that. So anyway, yes, this is how you can get it if you happen to be one of the people that actually support the Xbox platform. So there is an official way of getting the exact game that I just played. Now there is, for those of us with PCs, they have an updated version here, Wonder Boy, Asha, and Monster World, that literally just came out. Oh, well, right there, June 28th. So pretty recently. It's a bit pricey at $35, but they do have it. And just from watching this video run real quick, it looks like basically the same game. They just updated the graphics and everything. It doesn't really look like they changed a lot in it, but that if you want something a little more modern take on Monster World 4, that is available just now. So that may be something to look into if that's what you're interested in. Now, how would I go about reviewing this game? Well, basically, I'd like to say that I did like it more than Wonder Boy Monster World, the previous Monster World game I played. Um, it definitely felt more like a true Metroidvania, whereas Wonder Boy and Monster World is like you were just getting the items just so that you would have a chance to survive. You know, it didn't really reward you the way this game did. This game, let me just go back to this page because this is the one we're talking about. This game actually did reward you for putting forth the effort to basically find all the life drops and to do a little bit like, say, money farming to make sure that you had the best equipment. You actually felt rewarded for doing that, with the exception of that one sword that was garbage. But that's beside the point. Anyway, so this one definitely felt more of a true Metroidvania compared to the last one. And so these two right here, Wonder Boy and Monsterland and Wonder Boy and Monster World, they lean more towards the platforming side of things with a little bit of Metroidvania stuff in there. Whereas Monster World 4, it's a full on Metroidvania. One of the things I definitely have to knock it for though is the fact that um, there's no back. Well, I mean, there is backtracking, but only to a certain extent, and that kind of takes away from the Metroidvania aspect of it. Because once you complete each of the main areas, you can't go back to them. So if you miss anything, you've got to just start all over, assuming you've got a save that you have laying around that you can go back to. And I had to do that at least a couple of times where I'm like, well, crap. I completed this level and I've left behind 5 life drops. And so I just had to do it all over again. So I think that happened to me 2, maybe 3 times. I don't remember how many times it happened, but it did happen a couple of times where I had to go back and replay things. And that can be frustrating to say the least. And that definitely, in a way, that's one of the things I would probably ding this one and put it below the Dragon's Trap, because the Dragon's Trap, that was never, I can't remember that ever being a thing where you couldn't backtrack to a place. I mean, even when you couldn't do the transformation that you needed, you could eventually get back to a point where you could do that transformation and get to where you needed to go. So one way or the other, there was an ability to backtrack. And even Wonder Boy and Monster World, it had backtracking capabilities. So that's definitely a bit of a slight on Monster World 4. But, it's one of those things you basically can get used to and take your time through all the levels to make sure you have everything. Speaking of which, this is one of the guides I was following here on the strategy wiki. And you see here they tell you how many life drops you have. And this is really nice. And this is kind of if you don't pay attention to the tips section, this is kind of a spoiler free method of doing the walkthrough, because you say, okay, when I get through with Stream Sanctuary, if I've got all the life drops, I should have 7 blue hearts and 7 life drops. And so that kind of helps you out there. And, I'm not saying here, but basically they do have a list of like all the armor and whatnot as well. So that's pretty nice. But I would say that this guide in and of itself is really not the best guide if you're looking for a full featured walkthrough. As you can see here, they only cover up to Rapadania City. Anything after that, well, apparently they do have the underground fort. How about that? Anyway, anything outside of that, there's really no write up for. So it's, you know, moderately good. But, if you're trying to do something to give you a bit of a hint without having spoilers, this is actually a pretty decent guide. And you can tell you where to get all the equipment that you need in the game and when it's available. Actually, I did see that link here. Bam. So this tells you where to get them all if you want to get a little more detail, or you can just look here, the availability, when you can get any of them. So that's really nice if you want to kind of, you know, have less of a spoiler way of playing the game. Now, one of the things I did have to reference here and there was this guide here on the Game Facts, and it was the Life Drop Guide on Game Facts. And to be fair, I only accessed it, I'd say 2 times, maybe, because when I basically said, "Oh crap, what did I miss?" And so that's another thing about this game that I would actually like to say is kind of a benefit is the fact that I didn't feel like I needed to use a guide all the time. Um, and that's one of the things like with Wonder Boy and Monster World, just to kind of like just even progress through certain points of the game, I had to just look up a guide and say, what the heck am I doing here? So the only time I needed a guide in this game was when I was trying to make sure I had every one of the life drops. To actually complete the levels and make it through, I didn't actually need to consult a guide even once. So that's really nice. Um, that's another reason why I'd say this is definitely a step above Wonder Boy and Monster World. And when it comes down to the graphics and sound, definitely I'd say Monster World 4 is the best looking and sounding of all the games. And I even see that over Dragon's Trap as well, which I like that game. But this game definitely was very colorful. And I don't know, some people are saying that the music is annoying. I actually thought it was kind of catchy. So I kind of like the music. Um, so yeah, from a technological standpoint, this is definitely the top of all the Monster World games. So that's definitely a big bonus in my opinion. And you know what? That's one thing I would point out here. This is kind of a bit of a letdown. They've got all 4 of the Monster World games except the Dragon's Curse if you got it on the Sega Master System, or Dragon's Trap if it was on the the Turbo Graphics. I mean, they could have easily had that in here, and they would have had all 4 Monster World games. So that's kind of a bummer on Microsoft's point. Well, I guess it's Sega because Sega put it out. So that's kind of a bummer on Sega's effort there. They should put all 4 games in this collection. Anyway, so those are the 2 guides I used here and there to help me out. But fortunately, I didn't have to access them all the time. I would say definitely for sure, in my opinion, this game is fun. I enjoyed playing it. Definitely a good playthrough. Um, Not the best Moss World game. I'd say that one still belongs to the Dragon's Trap, but it's pretty close. They're both pretty close. And if I were to give it a star rating out of 5 stars, I'd give it about a 4.5 out of 5. Definitely improvement over Wonder Boy and Monster World for sure. It, I mean, depending on your viewpoint, Wonder Boy and Monster World is definitely more challenging, a lot more challenging. And this game, like any true Metroidvania, if you actually put forth the effort to discover everything and fully equip yourself, it's going to be a little bit easy. I mean, that is definitely, a thing with most Metroidvanias is that they can be a little bit on the easy side. But you kind of expect that going in for most of them. So in that case, I'd say this is definitely more of a true Metroidvania. And if you've got an Xbox One, or I guess even if you can find the physical version of the Xbox 360 title, if you've got any of these Xbox platforms at $10, that's a great deal. I mean, it really is. I think I probably paid roughly about $8 for just Monster World 4. Because it was all in points on the Wii Shop Channel. So I think it was probably about $8 that I paid for it. And so, I mean, $2 more, you get two more games. And yeah, I think I paid for the Monster Boy and Wonder Boy and Monsterland, excuse me, for about $5 on the Wii Shop Channel. So yeah, for those two games alone, I paid more than you would have paid for all three of these games. So definitely, I would say if you have an Xbox platform, this is a great deal for you. Now, this looks like a good game. I do like the look of it. It has a pretty decent art style, but it looks like it's the exact same game on Steam, only modernized. And at $35, man, that's a tough pill to swallow. Um, they would have to bring the price of this game down quite a bit. I mean, you know what? Here, let me just pull some of this video for you here. I mean, so you see, it looks like the exact same game for the most part. And another thing is, the music isn't exactly improved in it either. But there you go. That's the Sky Castle. All that horrible sadist platforming. So this just kind of gives you an idea of the more updated version. There's the Magic Carpet Ride. So yeah, it's a slight improvement. I mean, an improvement on graphics. Maybe on sound, but that's debatable. To be honest with you, is it worth $35? I mean, it may be your only option if you don't have an Xbox. Let's stop this. But the game in and of itself is exactly the same as the older version that I just played. So that's a hard sell. $35 is a hard sell for this game for sure, especially since there's just not a lot of new content in there. And if you look here on the page, they do have Wonder Boy: The Dragon's Trap, which is $20. So, I think if they brought this down to $20, that would probably be a better sell if it were, as it were. At $35, that's something I don't think I could recommend at this time. But if you're interested in it, I'd definitely say keep an eye on it because it's Steam. Things go on sale all the time on Steam, and just wait for it to drop down in price. Maybe drop down to a standard sticker price of $20 because I mean this thing's not even 3 months old at this point, so they're still going to try to try to keep that price up for all the early adopters that they can. But when it does go on sale, when it probably eventually will probably drop down to 20 bucks as its standard price, then it may be something worth considering for sure. But anyway, that's my thoughts on Monster World 4. It's a great game, and yeah, definitely if you got an Xbox platform, check out that Monster World Collection on Steam because you get 3 games for pretty cheap price, 10 bucks. And that's definitely something I'd look into. Anyway, thanks for watching this video. Y'all take care.